Hello and welcome back to Business with Miss Co, or welcome to if this is your first time. Today we're going to be talking about some of the channels of distribution that there are available to producers. Basically, mainly it's businesses that are producing content, but I guess you could say it's also all the other things, but sometimes obviously not included in the channels. This is part 2, so today we'll be looking at our third and fourth channel. So your third channel is the producer, agent, and consumer channel. So this is a channel that it means that the producer obviously produces the product, then it goes from the agent, which is like a delivery service, for example, straight to consumer. The agent is generally not providing as much of a service as a retailer or a wholesaler will be doing, because a wholesaler will be doing all these other things. They'll be bringing in deliveries, they'll be sending out deliveries, they'll be making sure everything is stored, they'll be making sure all these things are done, while an agent does very little. In fact, you could argue an agent does absolutely nothing but pay its employees. You've actually got two types of agents. You've got agents of their own, which are individual people. These would be, when you just got, you're sort of just general person, just go about the place. And you've got type 2, which is like a food delivery service. There have been multiple types of food delivery services, and they don't tend to pay people all that well. Oftentimes, those people also come in contact with various things. I mean, if you are going to be eating takeout food, but you don't want to go to the takeout place, sometimes people are going to be, in certain scenarios that are not very savoury to the person coming. But this is a situation you could argue that sometimes agents, the people who are actually doing the job are obviously doing a job, but the people who are actually giving the job, you could argue what they're providing is somewhat lacking. Arguing either way, Now, there are obviously some advantages. So the agent is familiar with the target market, and they may already have a network of potential buyers. There may be people who are already signed up to their app, whatever the case may be. This can help the firm to establish in a market without needing to actually expand the market. So they can establish the market share very quickly. It also tends not to cost that much because it doesn't need to actually have a physical outlet. It reduces recruitment, training, and employment wage costs. Because a lot of the time, what you're paying here is a percentage. So if you order something and the producer says, okay, here it is, agent, take this, it's, 50 quid, let's say. Now, the agent goes, okay, well, we're going to charge this percentage on that. So it'll be a nice little cut for us. And sometimes these percentages are actually quite high. Sometimes worryingly high. You're thinking, why is it so high? It's like you're providing that much. You're paying workers, they're cheap. So this is the thing you have here. It also helps react to changes. So as the agent is based within that market, they can react quickly to changes in the consumer demand and then pass them on to the producer their information. This can help to increase the producer's sales and profits. However, in a sort of reverse from that, you've got a problem, which is what happens when the agent who's actually doing the job may be based in that place, and they probably will be. But what happens when an agent sets up a company? So you've got a company that basically just employs agents, and they are basically the service you're using. Now, obviously, it's the same thing realistically. The company is just, paying the agent via them rather than you directly paying the agent. Now, this means, you see, that you've got a problem, because I may be the agent who actually picks up your food and delivers it. But what if I'm not able to tell my manager, the consumer demand is very low, and the manager doesn't really care, and that's the problem there. Sometimes this sort of locally based issue can get watered down when a business that actually employs agents goes global, and then obviously it's no longer in the air The agent themselves are, but the company is not. So you also lose a lot of control. So the producer may lose control over some, brand image and marketing, as this may be carried out by the agent. If an agent is, unable to do things, not they won't be the case. They'll be in this sort of situation which they have control over your brand kind of image. That's can be easily damaged realistically. You also have loyalty. Some agents will work for a number of different brands, and a lot of agent companies will do this. Agents realistically, if you're an individual agent, you might work with a specific company. Oftentimes, you will, because there's a lot of employment there. But if you're a company, you have a lot of people that just go, and there's no real loyalty there. So it can be very difficult to ensure that they are actually loyally working on behalf of your brand. So there's also a lot of cost. See, the producer is responsible for marketing, transport, and distribution of the product to consumers. This can be expensive for the producer and kind of problematic. See, if I'm a producer, I'm essentially being told, we'll employ someone, or I'll do this job, and then you'll have that product given here, and you now have to pay all these costs, and then just sort of for a delivery service, and that's all. That can actually affect the system you have there. Now, obviously, you could find that you're in a system where that could work for you, but it's just agents isn't a system that works very well, especially when it comes to corporations. It means that sometimes profits are higher because you get access to consumer base, but it gets kind of problematic down that line. You also have channel 4, which is the direct channel. This is where the producer goes direct to consumer. They involve nobody else. Everyone is cut out. This means that there are higher amounts of profits because there are fewer stages in the channel of distribution. The producer gets to keep most of the profit. In fact, some of the time it's all of it, because if they are able to manage delivery service and all that sort of stuff, boom, 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 they are able to, sometimes, you could argue that's kind of like an agent, where you might need a postal service or all sorts of things like that when you might not have your own delivery service. But if you're big enough, you might even be able to cut out any of the delivery service, and then that's all basically just incorporated into your cost. There's no profits to be shared. Now, you also have customer feedback. There is direct customer feedback. This helps the producer incredibly when it comes to developing new products to meet customer needs. Because all these other areas, there's a risk that you lose this customer feedback. And there's all these other things. And that obviously improved here. Now, customer awareness is also an advantage, because the company website can promote a producer's product worldwide. So this can increase the consumer's awareness of the product and increase sales. However, there is a problem. The other methods have the advantage of cutting certain costs. Because if I'm a wholesaler, I have a massive warehouse. I don't have to go out and rent a massive warehouse so that I can store your goods. I have one already. You saying to me, can you store my goods and ship them off to retailers? That's not an extra fee for me realistically. That's just more space in the warehouse. I'm going to charge you for it, but it's just the fact of the matter is there's no extra charges just because you're coming in here. But if you don't have anybody else, the producer needs to take on all costs. This includes transporting, marketing, and all these sort of things, and these can be expensive to set up and maintain. Now, if it's a big business, yeah, it'll probably be fine because it's earning enough money to cover those costs, and a lot of the time it can be very simple, especially if the business is in that nice little area where, if there's any product which is quite small, then a massive warehouse, and boom. If they're earning a lot of money, you get a massive warehouse, and boom, that might be all things sorted. You might have the entire area sorted, and you can get a fleet of trucks bought as well, and all these things can be sorted out. But when it's small business, this is a massive issue. It's a massive one. You also have expertise. See, the producer may not have all the expertise needed, or not necessarily needed, but there may be people who have better expertise. For example, an editor. I'm not especially good at editing, as anyone who's ever listened to a video I've created will know. Editing is one of those things, for example, with this YouTube video, I might benefit from, but of course, money-wise, you can't pay an editor to make something where you make no money off it, because then you're actually paying for it. It's the situation you have, which is that these methods sometimes bring in skills, not necessarily that you don't have, but that are better or more efficient, or maybe they're faster, and there's all these sort of things where it gets involved in it, whereby maybe you're able to do a job, but someone else might be able to do the job better and faster. And obviously this is also businesses, because if you're selling directly to consumers, you have to do all the things. You have to market, you have to do finance, you have to do transport. And that having all those things, you might want to be careful, because sometimes, you might have the expertise. Of course, bigger businesses, as I say once again, bigger businesses basically become their own wholesaler and retailer, because they do set up essentially the same thing. And maybe not retailer, but a wholesaler, sometimes they do this, where they might have different areas, they might own multiple warehouses and all these other things, and they might employ people to do all this. But if not, if you're a small business, that's another difficulty there. It's also very time consuming. Many small producers sell directly to consumers at weekly markets and events and all these other things, and it can be incredibly time consuming, because you have to do all the jobs. You have to do all the traveling, you have to do all the, all these different things, all these different channels that you can use. They all lead to a sale, or, not a sale, depending on, consumers and if they're buying your product or not. But you know what I mean? They all are intended to lead to a sale. And obviously, if you're trying to open up areas to sell to, So this is the sort of situation you have here. There are many companies who really sell directly, because it makes kind of a lot of sense. You're cutting out a lot of the kind of middle ground, and a lot of the time the only reason why you wouldn't cut out the middle ground is when you don't have a foothold in the market. Because if you don't have a foothold in the market, it's incredibly hard to get this kind of to get big, really. To go, well, not even big, just big enough that you're able to sell directly with efficiency. Like, if I set up a shop today and I have no customers, but if I have one customer, but that means I have to send out a vehicle to bring a product to them that I have to make, and so that means any materials, I'm not going to get a deal when it comes to bulk. I'm basically using job production. So I'm gonna need far better, I can't get any machines to do any jobs. I'll probably have to do it by hand, or, make a machine myself. All these other things. If you're buying any machines, then that's a massive upfront cost. You pay for something you may not know will succeed. And obviously, you can go into business and make this product maybe without a machine, but to reach the level where you can cover these costs, to reach the level where you are basically, you don't need a wholesaler, because you have a warehouse where you have all your items, then that's the thing. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If not, you can view other videos. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. That would help out a great deal, as would viewing other videos. If you're not going to view other videos and you're not going to view videos in the future, I guess I'll just say bye and enjoy the rest of your existence.